Hello and welcome back. This is VCTV by Latoken, and I'm Terrence. I'll be your moderator for today. And on our panel today, we have Rishabh and Gary. Now, some of you may have seen them on our panel, but again, they are featured prominently throughout various platforms as well. And we would love to hear them speak today and give their thoughts on the current topic that we're going to cover today. So it's going to be investments and pivots on esports and fitness in particular. So I think before we begin, it's only customary if we go around and have them introduce themselves. How about Rishabh? We'll start with you first. Quickly tell us a bit about yourself. Then we'll
Sure,
move on.
sure. Thank you, Terence, for having me here on this platform and discussion. It's a great platform. It's a great discussion. I really look forward to all the discussions that we have on VCTV. And pleasure to meet you, Gary, again. It's great to be with you and have a discussion on the upcoming trends in the blockchain industry. Terence has basically given the introduction earlier, and most of you might be knowing. But for the people who are joining us new, I work with O1X Fund, which is a family office which is based out of Dubai. We invest in early to growth stage companies, mostly in blockchain with token mandates and equity mandates. I mean, that depends. It's a family office. We have been in the space for almost 4 years. The founders of the fund have been into crypto ecosystem, blockchain ecosystem for almost since this whole, this ecosystem evolved and it got incepted. Since its inception, recently we have been actively investing in a lot of projects from the DeFi space. Then the changing and innovative trends and innovative companies and startups that come up with their solutions using blockchain technology. We have been working with a lot of acceleration programs. TDFi acceleration program is one of our latest partner program where we are working with them to invest in early stage companies, then to help them in scaling up, providing them legal support, compliance support, and then what the necessary help and the necessary requirements of a startup to scale up their operations globally, then to get them the required funding, the team expansion, the operation setup, and a lot of other things which we can discuss during the course of the webinar. So yeah, I'm really excited to be a part of this, especially this topic, because esports and fitness, both of these industries are disrupting. And with Corona, with COVID-19, we have seen the growth, dramatic rise in the number of viewers, the users. We have seen how esports industry has actually outshone even the traditional gaming, traditional games. Even I was recently reading an article where it said that the esports industry is much more valued, or maybe had more revenue than the NBA finals, which is which is itself a great accomplishment. And similarly, fitness industry, again, a disruptive model to be in blockchain. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to this session, and thank you for having me here.
Great. Thank you for that, Rishabh. Hi, Gary. It's the mornings for you.
Yes, absolutely.
Thank you for joining us.
Feel like I should get up with the roosters, you know what I mean? Cock-a-doodle-doo.
Tell us a bit about yourself, Gary, for our new viewers out there. Give them a rundown of yourself
sure.
and the company itself.
My name is Gary Fowler. I'm a serial entrepreneur. I've done 16 companies. I've got 18 portfolio companies. I'm an investor. I've done 2 unicorns. One of the companies I was on the original team of, Click Software, sold to Salesforce for $1.35 billion. I love artificial intelligence and anything around it. I'm very interested in the application of AI across multiple vertical markets. In fact, I just wrote an article today on quantum computing and blockchain. I'm very interested in where the future is. And yesterday, I was talking to the top cybersecurity folks, security and cybersecurity, the former CSO of Apple, and also David Luna, about the current state. And we're the good news is that digital transformation has given us tremendous opportunities, Terrence. They're
Right.
unprecedented. Pfizer just announced this week that they have a vaccine that is 90% effective against COVID, which
Mhm.
is going to change things. If you look at Peloton, oh, I mean, it's been a roller coaster up and down with some of the, even Zoom.
Hmm.
So I think people are a bit tired of being cooped up in their houses. There's some light at the end of the tunnel, some hope, anyhow. So it's interesting. Of course, fitness is online fitness and esports are going to continue to grow. The momentum that they picked up during this pandemic, I don't see it dramatically tapering off. Although I think that if I was a smart person, I'd be betting on buying some Disney stock real soon.
Uh, Thanks for that tip there, Gary. And good introduction, guys, from the both of you. So, again, just to highlight to our viewers who've just joined us, today we will be covering a little bit on esports and fitness itself. And what we want to see today is we want to see the investments and pivots, whether be it from blockchain or be it from the traditional side. How are things coming along within both of these sectors in particular? So I think before we go in, it's kind of good to kind of address what's going on around the two topics as well. I mean, we've seen in the last few years alone, esports, fitness, it's blowing up. It's blowing up in terms of adoption. It's blowing up in figures, markets. Everyone is talking about it. And I think it's only fair that we have you, the both of you, kind of shed some light on it today. So millions are joining, millions are tuning in, millions are looking at games and fitness apps, celebrities and trends out there. Can you talk us into the topic itself? Perhaps Gary, you can kind of
Yeah, sure. Well, I mean,
yeah.
and again, Terrence, I say this many times, but I'm a country boy from Pennsylvania. I grew up on the side of a mountain of 500 people. And so I keep things simple. We learned that in the country. If you see something black and white and it's pretty big and it's out in the field, it's probably a cow. And maybe it's a horse, but it's most probably a cow. So keep it simple. So let's look at where we are today.
Right.
Of course, esports was burgeoning even before the pandemic,
Mm.
and online fitness was also increasing. But look at where we are today. March of this year, when people were locked into their houses, which is happening again in places like the UK,
Mhm.
they had to, one is they wanted to work out, they wanted to be entertained, and they had to figure out ways that they could be able to do it. So there comes a company called Peloton, right? And the other part of it, Terrence, is that we want to feel connected, right? During these times, we wanted to feel connected to other people. We wanted to be part of something. It's Viktor Frankl wrote a book a number of years ago called Man's Search for Meaning, and we'd love to be connected together. And so you add that on top of the part that people want to work out and to be entertained, and that's a very powerful combination. The other thing is it allows us to share ideas and time with people from all over the world. It really democratizes the opportunity for us to connect and to be entertained and to work out together. And then the other thing is, it gives us a chance to be able to compete, right? So we have that competitive spirit. So it allows us to be able to compete. This was going to happen anyhow. I mean, this is part of the digital transformation. McKinsey said about a year ago that 92% of companies would digitally transform. Well, it also includes people, right, as
Mm.
individuals. We were all going down through. It was a slow process that just got put into turbocharged or supercharged mode in March of this year. So the opportunity is robust. If you bet the store in March of this year, you probably won. Look at Zoom stock, look at Peloton, look at esports. I mean, it just all has gone through the roof. So the good news is we've jump started, and in a way, it's very interesting, Terrence. This has helped humanity because it was going to happen anyhow. People were resistant. There were articles written, oh, we shouldn't do this. We shouldn't be online. But when there's no choice to be online, when there's no choice but to have a Peloton and to be connected that way. I mean, look at you couldn't even get exercise equipment. Right? I mean, seriously, I bought a
Yeah.
dumbbell that cost $20 for $60 because I couldn't get it. I had to buy it. I mean, it was it was as bad as trying to get toilet paper, you know?
That's a
You
supply
know it's
chain
bad.
issue
And
again, isn't it?
Terrence, you know it's bad when you when you're thinking about esports and online fitness, you can't even get a roll of toilet paper. Now there's something wrong with that picture, right? Think about it. So anyhow, but the future is robust and it's really encouraging because it's really connected people, more tightly coupled people from around the world. You know, a few years ago, I had a very interesting conversation by the actual guy, Vinton Cerf, who created the internet. So he's a co-founder of the internet. We had dinner together, and I actually met him a couple of times, but in Russia. And so I got to talk to Vinton. Now here's a guy, it's a PhD, he's a chief evangelist at Google today. And he said, we knew that this was going to connect, they created DARPANet, which became the internet. We knew this would, now imagine, I mean, he's like when in 100 years, it's going to be Silicon Valley is Athens of the information age. And this is one of the historical figures. He'll be like the Socrates of the information age. And he was telling me, we didn't understand, we knew it was going to connect people together. And it was originally developed for the military, right? But we didn't understand how pervasive it was going to be
Right.
when they built it. Now look at where that's changed us, right? I remember in the early 90s, I was doing a project with Sun Microsystems at the beginning of the internet, the World Wide Web. And look at where we've come today. It's just incredible. And so this opportunity is robust. Of course, we've got to change the feed. 5G and now 6G is going to have a dramatic impact because people can do it from anywhere, whenever they want, and also, sensors and that kind of thing. So if you've got a bike and it's connected, it's a Peloton, and it's somehow connected to the web, imagine having the capability to have it anywhere wirelessly, wherever you want. You could be outside pretending you're riding your bike down the road, And so I think there's all kinds of different, it's very interesting.
Right.
And, I'm encouraged that we've now had the connection, capabilities, we've now got the desire, and we've now got the technology at the right time and speed to be able to really make this stuff happen. And it's a good time, and it's still a good time for the startups, but be careful you don't get into the dead man zone. And by that I mean, or the death valley. You hit this market at the wrong time. The vaccine's coming up and people are jubilant because they finally get to be outside again. And so all those stocks drop for a while. They'll go back, but just be careful.
Yeah, you're right there, Gary. But then again, if we look at the numbers itself, now I've been looking around as well, and I'm noticing CAGR numbers at the high teens, even going up to the 20s with eSports, with fitness itself. I mean, Rishabh, perhaps you can kind of talk us through what would an investor look at? Are you focusing on those market numbers, or are you looking at the industry in a different way? Can you tell us a bit more, Rishabh?
Sure. So, as Gary rightly mentioned about the fact that as soon as this Pfizer news came out about that vaccines being 90% effective, Zoom founder lost I think somewhere around $5 billion, and the stocks fell down by I think 17% or something. And the only reason is because people will get a chance as soon as they get a chance to move out of their homes and go out, they will run and jump. They have been inside their homes almost 8 to 9 months now, and that's might not be a very good time. But again, the numbers say things differently, and as we see that, as you said, around 20% growth in as a of a CAGR growth in the esports industry from somewhere around which projects that by 2022 the market would be esports market would be in the range of $2 billion, which is a good number, and which is something, a disruptive industry like esports, which recently it's a nascent, it's a very nascent industry still, and it's not something that has been there for a lot of decades or something, and it's the adoption has been dramatic and exponential. And definitely we as investors have been looking at startups and ventures that are providing some disruptive solutions. But for that, I mean, a lot of blockchain application, when it comes to about applying blockchain to an industry, you need to really understand the problem statement. So I'll just mention a couple of problems that the esports industry face, and that's where we look at if a startup is able to solve that problem and comes up with a solution that is providing a solution that comes up with a solution that is actually focusing on that problem itself, then definitely, I mean, we would be looking forward to have a word with them and to definitely work with them. So, I mean, one of the major issues that blockchain plans to solve or intends to solve is bringing in transparency and trust. There are let's talk about the stakeholders that are involved in esports. Stakeholders like media sponsors, then players. The players don't get recognition. Let's talk about the gaming industry. We know the players of cricket by our, we know the names. We know who represent us, who is representing which country, who is playing in which league. We know about the soccer leagues. We know about the basketball leagues. But when it comes to esports, I mean, do we actually know, or do we know the names of those players who are playing there? I mean, unless until they have their own YouTube channels or their own streaming platforms, we don't know them. There is not a level playing field for them, and this is where blockchain can actually solve a problem. So there is a company called venture called eByte, which is building a platform for bringing all these people together. They have been trying to disrupt it. They have been trying to make it more transparent. But again, the adoption needs to be adoption needs to be there for this platform to flourish. And so with so many scams coming up, it becomes really important for a venture to flourish and to scale, to give a real solution, not look at the quick side of it. So, for example, if you're building a platform which is using blockchain to solve the esports industry problem, you should take into consideration the short-term changes that are going to take place with the lockdown situation being under control, with people going back to work, with the social life again coming out. So you need to look at those constraints as well, and to build a solution that is a long scalable solution and a long-term sustainable solution. Some of the other challenges is, for example, we don't have a platform. If you look at the esports industry, I mean, I will talk about the esports industry first, and then later on we can talk about the fitness one. But even if you look at the esports industry, you don't have a platform where you can go and make your investments. You do not have a platform for where okay, this venture is coming up and is trying to give the solution to the world, and you as an investor can go and check out their details. I was just Googling when I read about your email 30 minutes back, where you mentioned about few of the points that we can discuss. I was just, I started my Google search and I said, okay, top 10 esports project, just for curiosity. And I was surprised. We don't have a Medium article that mentions top 10 projects that are working on esports. So that means that there are not as many solutions as there are for other industry in the using blockchain. You talk about payment systems, you talk about transactions, you talk about decentralized finance. You will see lists of startups that are there who are working on these problem statements. But you talk about blockchain games or blockchain on esports, and you find a couple of them. And that means that because of the lack of adoption and because of the lack of awareness about the industry, using blockchain to disrupt esports is, for example, let's talk about CryptoKitties. I'm sure you must be might be knowing about CryptoKitties back in 2017. It created such a hype that the highest price of a kitty was somewhere around $170,000. I'm not sure about the number, but it was somewhere in this range. And it was built on Ethereum, and there was a time when Ethereum crashed because of CryptoKitties. The transactions grew so much, and that's the kind of scalability that one particular startup was able to achieve. And all of these points, when you narrow it down and you look at you put all these into perspective, the one thing which I, as an investor working for an investment firm, would like to see is a sustainable and a robust solution to the problems of transparency, trust, and then giving the right payments to the right stakeholders, and eliminating the middlemen. This is exactly what blockchain is doing, right? Eliminating the
Mm.
middlemen, distributing the payments in a very fair manner. And if someone comes up with such a solution, then that's where we would be, looking forward to. And I think that's a pivot point of that's an investment pivot for me when it comes to building something in esports industry.
Right, right. I mean, I would agree with you there, Rishabh. Good points that you've highlighted there. And rightly so, when we look at esports and when we look at the fitness industry on its own, now lots of people are contributing to it. Lots of startups are coming up, and we hear and see them quite a bit. Most of them talk about supporting new content creators or streamers in this case, perhaps buying collectibles or really visiting third party shops. But do you see anything different, at least, or do you see another angle where they can kind of come up and contribute?
I mean, sorry for this disturbance. If something happened outside. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, you're correct. You're very rightly pointed out to the fact that if you look at all of these ventures, and if you look at from a perspective that what they're exactly doing, so they are in a kind of providing a platform where, in a transparent manner, you are just able to buy some collectibles or get some distributing the content, or maybe trying to do something which is related to the payment industry or doing the secure transactions, which is already an existing solution. So you're just integrating another solution in an industry to kind of provide a different shape to it and angle to it. But there is still a huge scope for one angle, which I think is there are so many stakeholders involved in this industry, be it the fitness one or the esports industry, and using and if a venture is able to actually address the problems that are challenges that are faced by these stakeholders. For example, if I'm a game organizer, right? If I'm a esports game organizer, which is organizing Dota for that matter, being the highest prize money esport game that is being played around the world, and I'm sure I was shocked with the number of users growth. I mean, just going off the topic, but when I was reading about Dota, the users the number growth in users was from 170 million to 297 million in 3 years. I mean, that's almost a 50% growth in almost 3 years, and that's a great achievement. That's a kind of achievement a startup would like to have when they're working to scale up or to go global. And so, coming back to the problem statement that you put up on the table, that what other angle? So this is one angle which I see, that when you talk about all these stakeholders, if a venture or if a startup can use blockchain to rightly and fairly distribute the payments, the prices, the rewards, and loyalties among all these stakeholders, that would make it a fairly transparent industry and encourage and make it a level playing field. So that
Mm.
would encourage anyone, any esports player to come up on the platform, be a part of that platform. Any organizer or media sponsor can come up on the platform, be a part of it, be a part of the industry, and help the industry to scale. So
Right.
that's one thing which where I look, where I'm looking forward to when you talk about the esports industry.
Right, right. Gary, this next question is for you. I think it's fitting since you're in the States. Uh, Fitness trackers, or even the fitness industry. Let's talk about that a little bit. Now, we all, I think, know someone or probably use one ourselves. The amount of data collected, uh,
You
what are
mean
we
like
giving
this?
back?
Like this?
Yeah, like that.
Or
so,
maybe
so
the other one I got over here.
yeah, there we go. So that's the point. The amount of data collected. What are we giving back in terms of media advertisement revenue? Who gets what? Could you comment a little bit on the fitness side of things and how
I mean,
businesses
the
are trying to
situation,
pivot?
that's the question of the
Yeah,
century, right?
yeah.
And we go back this. So, how much is my data worth and who owns my data,
Hmm.
right? Because the data is really important because I can make a lot of decisions as an advertiser based upon data and then with geolocation, where I am at any particular time, I can start pushing ads. So you bring up the current question that's interesting. So who owns the data? And if we expand that to let's take Google, right? Everybody says, oh, let's Google it. But, it's nothing's free, right? It's not like it's free. When you use Google or Gmail, they're going through your email, right? They're scanning it, looking for chances to be able to sell you things. And people talk about, it's incredible, Terrence, to me personally. And again, I'm a country boy, but people complain about privacy and security. They have no problem setting up Gmail. Isn't that kooky? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or you have Facebook, so we think about these things, but look at all the data that we create. So we've got a challenge, and it's got to be looked at differently. Now, the downside of it is people don't want to give up, having Google as a search engine and having Google as your email account, and they're not willing to pay for things. So, people say, well, they get it for free, but there's nothing for free. So the question is, when are we going to be in a mentality to be able to understand that these things aren't free, and we're going to have to start paying $20 a month, $50 a month to have Google, right, as our provider. And maybe the service will be the same level or less, but have it set up. So that's the question of today. And so the data that we have, if I have a fitness tracker like this, and my data's going out, do I own it? Well, I don't want to spend $500 or $1,000 for a fitness tracker. And then what is my data being used for? So that's the question of today. So if you're asking my personal opinion, I believe that we own the data. I believe we should get something through it for it, but we've got to be careful what we ask for because we also want the service. So that's from my perspective. And of course, this is booming, right? Look at the fitness trackers we have today. Look at the Apple Watch. Look at the capability to see if you've got all kinds of difference, whether you've got fibrillations, now a sleeping. So if the watches, now you talk about singularity, these fitness trackers are coming more, mine too, right? It can calculate how much I sleep and then advise me, listen, you didn't get enough sleep. This is not good. You've only slept 3.5 hours, literally.
Right.
And so, we as we go down through and our society transforms towards singularity, I mean, look at everything that's happening. So we talk about eSports, everything's becoming closer to us, closer and closer and closer. We're getting close to that kind of a Tron, Matrix kind of a virtual experience. And it's coming, right? We're talking about it, but as we speak here, it's already on its way, right? It's not like it's not going to happen. It's just, when's it going to be complete? And it's so, that's the question. And I, we can tokenize things. We can get down through and get paid for our data. We can control our data. Of course, I don't know who these fitness trackers share my data with. But then at the same time, Terrence, when you go log into a new website and use the login with your Facebook account, do you think anything good's going to happen there when you do that? You know what I mean? I don't know. Maybe it's just like we don't even think about it. What do you want to log in with Google, with Facebook, with LinkedIn, whatever? And you're like, I don't know, Facebook. I always use Facebook. At the same time, I start getting crazy amounts of ads on things. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, super targeted ads itself.
Super targeted. It's funny because the second after I go on to a site, I went after tires. I needed tires for my SUV. And I went on to the site, looked at tires, and seconds later, the competitor sends me an ad for the same tire. Can you imagine? And I logged in with Facebook.
Right.
I think it was Facebook. But it was crazy. And so, on one side of it, I like it because it gives me a chance. I don't have to think about buying things. I do get good deals presented to me.
Right.
Right. And they get, and then the situation, I did a presentation a few years ago talking about predictive insights 4 years ago at VentureBeat. And that's really where we are. It's, predicting what's going to happen next. what kind of exercise do we have to do next? What's going
Mm,
to be good for us based on our age and all the characteristics we put in that's good for us today? How can we improve our health without killing ourselves?
right.
And that's it's migrating in that direction, and that's encouraging. I just wrote an article called "Living to 150." I don't remember it's Forbes or I don't even remember where I wrote it, but it was a
150, you say?
well, I mean, I did a project with Stanford and some
Okay.
MBA students to live to 120. Like really, it's 120 is a target right now. But
Okay.
you look at it with the printing of organs. You look at it with nanobots being able to be injected and clean your system. Part of
Mm,
the problem with cancer is that it's not about getting rid of the cancer. It's about killing all the good cells around it, right? Because in order to get the cancer out, you got to kill a lot more than where the cancer is. So it's encouraging to see these, specific therapies. I just did a presentation a couple of weeks ago to the top pharmaceutical companies in Europe, and it's drug discovery using AI models instead of bench time. So
right.
instead of having to have your scientists on the bench, trying this out, let's just put the AI in. And then I just wrote back to them. I just wrote an article on Forbes on AI and quantum computing, and kind of blew it out of the water, right? Because things that would take 10,000 years could take minutes, and
Yeah.
so it's interesting. Anyhow, yeah, yeah. But it's all converging together. All these things that we're talking about, everything is starting to converge together. I'm not sure how
Right.
many people in the audience see it, but it's happening now. And
Yeah.
as we get smart cities, or imagine smart cities where you got your fitness detector on, it reroutes you to another area so you can get some exercise.
Mm,
It
yeah.
tells you the walk you should take. It becomes your super, not in smart, but intelligent assistant. And it starts to guide you around. Listen, you've got fitness goals, get up, your alarm clock goes up, off at 7 o'clock in the morning. It sets it for you. You get up, you go downstairs, your electric bike's already connected. So the internet is connected to the internet. So it knows exactly where you need to go, right? A
Yeah.
map comes up on your and I have a lot of e-bikes, 8 of them, I think. A map comes up on your e-bike saying, this is the map we suggest you take today. Based on this, there's going to be a lot less traffic on the road, right? So you're now tolling around. It looks at where your heart rate is. It's now guiding you as a coach, telling you to step it up. You need to go, instead of 20 miles an hour, you need to go 23, right, to get your workout in. You come
Right.
back home, that same tracker, that same fitness tracker is telling you, listen, this is what you can have to eat today.
Right. Right.
It knows what's in your refrigerator. It
I mean,
understands.
yeah, yeah. I mean, you rightly put it, Gary. I think things are getting smarter. Lots of things are getting connected, and we should understand who owns this data set and who gets kind of remunerated for it in a way. And for those viewing in as well, again, thank you for staying with us. Now, this is VCTV by Latoken. And if you've not known yet, now Latoken is the #1 exchange by liquidity at the moment for new digital assets. So if you are an entrepreneur and if you're looking at securing funding or understanding the angel investors or the investors' point of view, I think this is the platform for you. Because on today's show, we have Rishabh and Gary, who's talking about the environment within esports and within the fitness industry itself. But just for the benefit of those aspiring entrepreneurs and those with their digital tokens or aspiring business models out there, tell us at the moment, guys, is the money still flowing? And where is the focus at the moment? Just give us a general sweep of things. I mean, from an investor's point of view. Perhaps, Gary, you can comment first.
Yeah, I mean, the money is flowing if you know how to get out to those investors. And the pandemic has put up a special obstacle. And the obstacle is, typically investors invest in people they know, right? People
Yeah,
they shake hands with and meet and have coffee with or drink or whatever. So that's the way they invest. It's all been very, they want to get to know you. And so you got, a couple lunches together in Silicon Valley, you go to Hobie's or someplace like that and have breakfast and chat. So that's how they get to know you. This has created a whole different environment. And, I talked about there's a model in terms of this current world order. How has it changed? Well, you need to have intergenerational teams. And why do you need that? So if you got the 20-year-olds, you want people that are 50 or 40 or 60 that have the experience, because why? They have trust and contacts and their track record. And today it's critically important, because when you go in to an investor and you talk, or you get online and talk to an investor, they start trying to figure out who you know. Right? And what have you done? Have you had a unicorn? If you got a unicorn, it surely helps. Right? And
Definitely.
so that's how the money is flowing. People have been stunned, Terrence, during this pandemic. I've never seen anything like, well, I can't say that. I've been in some situations that have been interesting over the years. I was in Russia when the ruble crashed, and I saw how people reacted there. So I've been in some situations that have been where the value of the currency went down 50%, and people were buying televisions in stores because they were afraid of losing their money, and it was pegged at the old price. I personally did it. I bought some Omega watches, right, myself. So, but those kind of circumstances, where we are, people have been shocked like that. And they held on to their money because they didn't know what to do. The other thing is, pre-Series A today, it's pretty hard to get a pre-Series A because you don't have a track record for the most part.
Right.
My suggestion is regionally dominate. That means in your particular region, have a track record and show that you can get revenue. Because the VCs, it makes a whole lot easier decision that they understand that your team works well, you've got product market fit, you've got your MVP and it's proven in the market. And most importantly, customers are willing to pay money and buy it, right? To grab it out of your hands. So the paradigm shifted a bit. On the other hand, it's a lot easier now because the VCs are starting to free up, including ourselves, free up a bit and invest anywhere, right? They're scouting for technologies. We look for AI technologies around the world, and ones that have a chance to be a unicorn. I've been involved in 2 unicorns. Personally, I've seen them from the beginning to the, either co-founder or an original team of companies that have demonstrated that, have done it. So there is an opportunity. And the one thing, during these challenging times, part of it is that when you're dealing with the investors, I did a TED talk, talked about POV, passion, optimism, visualization. If you're not confident you can do it, and I hear, I feel, oh, I don't know. And in Russia, it's so, maybe, could be, I hope. They don't want to hear that. I am not going to invest in somebody that says, I hope. Zero. You know what I mean? Because if they say, I hope, the probability is not going to happen, just
Right.
in the mentality. So I would go down through and just keep it really positive, move forward. And if you do those kind of things, you can optimize the chance of raising money. Yes, there are platforms out there you can get on where investors, just like La Token, right, where you can get to the investors, use those kind of platforms. This is not rocket scientists. If you're going fishing in a pond, you want to go into a pond that has fish, right? You don't want to go to one that's got chemical problems. You want to go to one that has fish, right? So go to those platforms and engage in those platforms, get visibility. It's critical today to have a online presence, a dominant online presence, so people know who you are, because they're always going to Google, right, and check you out, write articles, be looked like as an authority in that particular area, and it'll make the decision whether to invest or not much easier for that person.
That makes perfect sense, Gary. Thank you for that.
Sure.
Rishabh, how about yourself? What's your feedback on this? Now, I've personally heard lots of people are holding back. They're not talking to VCs now because they're perhaps slightly afraid they won't get the valuation they deserve, or they don't even want to approach a listing agency like ours. What's your comment on that? Is this the right time, or are they missing out here?
So, I really appreciate when the point raised by Gary when he mentioned about using AI for customizing or personalizing your use the values that you deliver to your user. With the advent of AI and with the advent of personalizing things like Google, what Google does and Facebook does to some extent, I think this is what users and customers are loving. This is something where if a AI, if a fitness app can actually track. So I'll just compare two things which might deliver what I'm actually trying to say here. Before the pandemic started, there were the traditional gyms were there, the traditional fitness centers were there, and one thing which I really liked about them was the customization. For example, if I am as an I am a really a person who would like to work out every day. So if I as a person goes to a gym and do my workout, and out of 20 reps I am able to do 15, then the person who is training me comes to me and say, okay, rest of the fight doing this way, complete your set and then move on to the next exercise, because that's called customization. Now let's move on to during the pandemic days where there were so many streaming platforms where the users were given videos of different people practicing those exercises and then people have to follow it. They actually were able to influence them, but again, I as a person, as a user, was facing a problem of customization. I was not being monitored in a way that if I'm not able to repeat an exercise after 15 repetitions, I was not being told, okay, do this after 15 because you're not able to complete your set. So try to change a little bit. And that's where AI has to come in into the fitness industry. Apart from, there is an application of blockchain, definitely, decentralized streaming and a lot of other ways where trust and transparency comes in. But to be to build an application or to build a product that is delivering actual value to the user is what is something that the VC investors are seeking out for. So if you're able to build an application or a product where you are actually connecting to your customer, even at a regional level, and you're able to tell that person, okay, this is exactly what used to happen in when you are going to a gym, and we are providing the same services, same customizations at your home, at your own comfortable time and convenient timings. I think that would be a disruption. I've seen. Let's talk about. I'm right now operating from India, and I've seen funds flowing in for companies that are providing fitness solutions at home, and VCs were after them, just giving them millions and billions of dollars, piles of money, just to get a bite of it. But again, I don't think that's a solution that's going to sustain unless AI actually comes in and builds a solution that is customized to the user. Now let's talk. When the question you asked is that's something that the founders needs to understand. The founders sometimes overvalue, and again repeating the point, that reiterating what we discussed last time, that re-engineering or over-engineering a product. So founders, in a hope that their valuation would be much more than what it is today, they might delay and saying, okay, we'll build this and then go out to the market. But you have to understand that there is a right time to deliver a product, because a right product at a wrong time is a bigger disaster than a wrong product at the right time. If there's the wrong product at the right time, still has a probability to succeed more than the right product at the wrong time. So I've made founders while I work with when we evaluate these pitch decks, and we tell them, okay, that I think this is the valuation that we can go out for, and this is what we are expecting. We understand that a founders, it's a baby. For a founder, if the product is the baby and they want it to be really highly valued and they want the best value out of it. But you have to understand the values that any listing, for that matter, or any funding that brings in. A strategic investor, when it comes in, is not only giving their money, they are actually helping you to scale up. They're being a part of an extension team, and they will work on grounds with their sweat and blood to help you scale. The founders needs to understand the right time. They have to identify the right time. It's not like you build a product, then you wait for your valuation to pump up and then go out in the market, because you will lose out a lot. and then you might end up getting nothing. Whereas if you would have been more, a more of a person who was ready to a dynamic, you were able to adopt to the dynamics, changing dynamics, then that would have actually led you to get that necessary funds as well as that necessary assistance and mentorship, which would have helped you to gain that scalability which you were looking for.
Hmm. I think you rightly put it there, Rishabh, and I think it's something that we are all echoing here as well. The timing is crucial, but it doesn't go to say that this year is gone or nothing can be achieved this year. I think there's so many things and there's so many talks that can be had. So do approach us. Do come to us if you need any piece of advice or if you need guidance. I think lots of people on this platform and also in our ecosystem, we are really willing to help. So I think we have a few minutes to wrap things up here, gentlemen. Before we go, let's kind of sum up both of these sectors, esports, fitness. Again, your vision, your wish list, your top picks. Just give it, and we'll start from you, Rishabh.
Sure. I'll talk about fitness first, and there's one thing that I would really like to look forward to when it comes to the building something in this industry. And blockchain is definitely, as I mentioned, that can give you that essential trust and transparency. But the product required has to be has to really solve a problem. I just was recently reading about this product called Step Chain. It's gaining a lot of popularity in a way that it is actually rewarding the users who are completing their workout routine, who are achieving those small milestones. That's a way to give an accomplished sense of accomplishment to your user. If a user comes to your platform, achieves a small milestone, and then you reward them, we all know how that philosophy psychology of rewards and punishment work. And if you're rewarding your user for achieving that small milestone, that motivates him or her to come again to your platform. And that's where blockchain would come in to make this whole process into a smart contract, making it efficient and eliminating all the middlemen required or the third party authority required. Let's not even talk about payment, because that is obviously an essential part of it, and maybe that is something which is already done. So I'm not even talking about the payment, the security that blockchain brings in. But if the customization happens in a way that motivates the users to come in, that's called word of mouth marketing. That's called where that user will go out to 10 other people and tell them, use this platform. It's really rewarding, because that's what I was told when I used to work from office back to home, and my friend told me, dude, use this app. This is actually amazing. You get coins when you complete your walk. They track you through your fitness equipment, and then once you are able to achieve that milestone, you get certain coins, and those you can then redeem those coins, not for money, maybe for some other vouchers or something that gives you a sense of accomplishment as well as gives you something in return. And I went and told, like 10 other friends of mine, go and use this app. This is amazing. That's the point where I'm looking forward to customizing your product in a way that attracts your users and compels them to go for promoting the product. So your user becomes your marketer. That's if your product is able to achieve this key metric, then I think you are really good to go out for funding, for scalability and whatnot, and you are bound to succeed. So that's about the fitness industry. For the esport industry, I think it is going tremendously well. There are companies like Dream Team raised $6 million in the token sale in the phase one, 250,000 users in 3 months. 3 months and 250,000 users and a 36% of weekly growth. That's amazing performance. When you are at such an early stage and you're able to achieve this kind of growth in your region, then that means you have done your MVP, you have done your research, and you exactly know what to deliver for that industry. So
Right.
for esport industry, that's where it comes in, that the solution should cater to all these stakeholders, should make a level playing field where anyone and everyone can come on the platform, use it, be a participate in it, and then earn from that platform, maybe contribute towards its success. And that's where I look the esports industry.
Right. That's great. Thank you for that, Rishabh. It's a very important point to bring up and a great example there as well. I think, Gary, what about yourself? Final words from you with
Yeah,
regards
sure.
to the two topics that we're talking about here.
I mean, the situation, these are exciting times, Terrence. And I mean, it's unprecedented. I would be careful, so companies that want to get funded that have these incredible technologies, my suggestion was in fitness or esports, I suggest you get out now, because if we hit that trough where the market goes down because of it's not because the opportunity is not there. It's just because people are so sick of staying inside, they're going to be focused on, you know, Disney stock, and I'm not a Disney shareholder, but things like that, fun outdoor kind of activity,
Right.
motorcycles maybe. But
Mm,
so I would, you just want to be a little bit careful, do it sooner than later. This is going to go up. These integrated activities, esports and fitness, it's going to continue to grow. What is it? It's 30% per year, I think, in esports by over till the year 2026. So I mean, the
mm,
growth is going to be there. Don't give up. Don't go down. It's not going to stay down if it goes down because the pandemic has shifted. Invest in it, look at it, focus on it. The same thing with the fitness. I mean, we know these fitness trackers are turning into like remote, you know, patient monitoring devices. They're doing all kinds of things. They're going to help
right.
guide us. They're becoming fitness coaches and fitness assistants. And that's happening. This evolution is happening today. It's going to continue. So those companies out there that understand how to get their applications on the Apple Watches of the world or the fitness trackers that can, have a profound impact should do it sooner than later. And the other thing
Mm,
is people want to compete with one another. And I'm just giving some ideas. Imagine if you've got the watch or you've got the computer on a bike that can be integrated together so you can compete with somebody virtually that's riding their bike at the same time that you are. And the
right.
bike is saying, go faster, slow down. And it's based on your own data. So it's coaching you while you're riding. That's really cool. So
Yes, it
anybody
is.
out there with those kind of uh, uh, programs or hardware, give us a call. I'd be happy. They can reach me, Gary Fowler, on LinkedIn, also Twitter. I have three different shows that I run, one every week, GSD Presents. So tune in, be happy to talk to you. We're looking for incredible teams, resilient teams that want to go global.
Excellent. I think that's a great way to end this, gentlemen. Again, I must thank you for your time and your insights on the topics that were discussed today. For those viewing as well, thank you for tuning in. Do come back and check in with us on our next shows, where we will feature lots of other prominent speakers and also investors in your sector. So again, thank you. Thank you, gentlemen, and have a great day ahead.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.